Welcome to episode number 17 of the eKartingNews.com Debrief Podcast, February 28th, 2018. Rob Howden here, alongside David Cole. David, how you doing?
I am doing great. You caught me mid-drink. Sorry.
I don't usually introduce you at the very start, and I caught you.
You threw me off.
Great way to start the day. This is the Debrief Podcast. For those of you who have tuned in to the EKN Radio Network recently, you know that we've made some changes to the debrief. Last year during the podcast, we used this debrief as kind of an overall podcast where we just talk about the sport. We'd look at some of the top hot news items that came through. We'd talk about some racing. Have a couple other topics that we'd hit. But the debrief this year for 2018, strictly a breakdown of the most recent event that David and I attended. This particular podcast is going to be our breakdown, the debrief on the Challenge of the Americas, second event of the year, rounds 3 and 4 from Fontana, California. So David and I will start rolling into that. But let's start by introducing our presenting sponsor for this week's show. The sponsor will be Precision Karting Technologies. Big thank you to them for being an e-partner for many years. With over 40 years of manufacturing experience, Precision Karting Technologies is the leader in American-made components. We produce high-quality products led by our full line of chromoly and mild steel axles. Metric or imperial, standard or custom, we have what you need. Collars, keys, and bearings, we're the source for axle components in the USA. With over 70 dealers throughout the US and Canada, it's easy to choose PKT. Family-owned and operated, proudly made in the USA. So, David, again, we're jumping into a new debrief. You and I made the trek out to Fontana, California. Always great to get the Cal Speed. You know, Mike Smith and his crew there do a great job. And before we talk a little about the weather, let's just first and foremost, we walk in there. We got a bigger EKN studio. The announcer's booth was massive this year. Last time we were there, it was tiny.
Oh, yeah. It's been, 5 years since we were there last time. So we, from the outside looking in, not being there for 5 years, it didn't appear that things had really ever changed, but that was about the only change I think they made was a bigger announcer's booth.
That was good for us, that's for sure. We had some room to spread out and get some work done. Obviously, we did the happy hour with Howden broadcast on a Friday afternoon, as we always do. We broadcast the goings on of the last practice session of the day. Got a chance to interview a lot of people. And that's something that we've added to the EKN Radio Network as well. In the week that follows these events, you're going to be able to see us come in with that podcast, that segment, that happy hour segment where we talk to some guys, plus blast out the times. I think it's been a great addition. David, overall, I know that when you and I were planning on heading out there, I think we always think, hey, it's February or whenever we end up going out for our challenge race. It's going to be warm. We're going to pack the shorts, some T-shirts, maybe a light jacket, whatever. A little chillier in the morning in Fontana at Cal Speed throughout the weekend. Really solid, just gorgeous weekend. Blue skies, not a cloud. Some high winds on Sunday morning before we even got to the racetrack. Otherwise, low 60s. So very comfortable temperatures. But I'll tell you, when the sun went down for the podiums, I needed some pants. It was cold.
Yeah, it was the winds that really kept the temperature at a lower level that we're used to when we go to California, and so that was the main factor of why we had the pants on and the coats and the hats and gloves on Saturday night. Once that sun went down, it got a little bit chilly. But Sunday it seemed to heat up a little bit more. I was able to take the jacket off and. Well, I was trackside, and even during the podiums, we weren't freezing. So it got warmer. So when the weather or the wind decided to calm back down. So like you said, overall though it was perfect racing weather because I don't think the winds really affected the on track action.
Obviously, with the cooler temperatures, it did affect and kind of alter a little bit the way qualifying rolled in, and because obviously with the Bridgestone tires a little harder, that the surface at Cal Speed, cooler temperatures, it did take the guys more laps. We saw a lot of categories that we sometimes see guys knock out their fast lap on lap 3, 4, or 5. In a lot of the classes, they were going to 6, 7, and 8 because it's just a little more time to
even lap 12. I think we saw in one of the junior sessions. I mean, it took till the last lap to get the fastest lap out of those tires.
Jake Drew was one of them. You're right. Remember, he stole the pole position away from Colby Debato, I believe, in the very last lap of one of the sessions. So, all in all, a great weekend for us in terms of weather. Let's talk numbers. It's obviously very important here for the Challenge of the Americas. They have essentially rebranded themselves, rebuilt their program, having done 10 years as a Rotax Max Series. They start 2018 off after a long offseason to work on it with the Rock Cup program. So 85 drivers in the opening round in Phoenix. They go to 91 at Cal Speed. Overall, a 7% growth, but it was kind of most of the categories either were exactly the same, one up or a couple down, based on who wanted. Some of the locals from Phoenix didn't come, replaced by the locals from California. But the biggest jump was in the Masters category, David, from 10 up to 17. It was a really good Masters field.
Yeah, there we saw a lot of local contingent come out and race because the Southern California area has been the breeding ground of Masters racing, and especially with the Challenge of the Americas. We've always seen great Masters fields, whether it be Rotax Masters, whether it be DD2 Masters, whether it be anything having to do with Masters. I almost start to think, looking at them providing the 206 category, maybe we throw in a Rotax or a 206 Masters class kind of in there maybe next year as like a class within the class type deal.
It'd be pretty easy to run a 206 Masters class or run them with the senior category. No doubt about that. And I think they would probably draw. That's one of the great things about Masters racing. These guys want to come out and have a good time and go racing. If we look at the numbers, again, pretty much across the board, double digits. We had 12 in mini, 15 in junior, 10 drivers again in Rock Senior. We're going to keep doing that, I think. Rock Senior. I didn't say Rotax one time on the mic, though, on the weekend. I want to point that out.
Are you sure you didn't say Max? I think you said Max.
Don't say that. Did I really? I honestly,
I didn't say it as a class. I just said maybe to the max or something.
Oh, to the all right. Well, that's not bad. I can do that because I kept saying rock and roll. That works. 17 in master, as I said. Rock Shifter had 18 in total, 13 in the senior class, and 5 in the masters category. 206 has kind of settled out, David. They're right around a dozen or so in junior, a dozen or so in senior, 8 to 10 in the junior category. Personally, I was personally surprised because for me, when I raced, anytime a big series came anywhere near me, excuse me, I was going to run it. And I'm surprised there weren't more Southern California, because there's a lot of 206 guys there. I'm surprised not more Southern California guys didn't come out to challenge people at a major event. I would like to see more guys come out and say, hey, this is my turf. Here's what we're doing. I'm going for the win.
Well, we're seeing that with the 206 category. It's tough for a lot of these local drivers to come out and race a higher profile event because it's costs more money. It's more time invested. And to be honest, it takes away from the local events that they attend. So we've seen it on the East Coast throughout the Man Cup series last year. We're seeing, the SCUSA winter program only had 10 and 10. So it's not like they blew the numbers away with because local wise, they get quadruple that. So if you're getting, if you get, say, 10 to 25% of the local contingent, I think that's a plus. And I would love to see it too, but it's not going to happen. We'd love to see more bigger fields all the time, but it's just the way the sport is. I think it's just you strive to have these big, huge numbers, but you could give them anything in the world, and they still won't show up. Am I right? We've done that. We've done that with high profile events. We've
That's
talked
true.
with it about other events. Say, well, what if we provide, $10,000 win? Well, you're still only going to get 10 guys showing up. You're not going to get the 40 or 50 guys going because they know certain people are going to win. So that takes a percentage out from showing up. And again, budgets. There's a race at Cal Speed nearly every weekend, whether it's Tri-C, whether it's LAKC, whether it's anything that's going on, even the local stuff, the super sports series stuff that they do. A lot of 206 racers do that. So I think it boils down to just, if you can get 10 to 25% of your local contingent there, it's at least a win. It's not a win-win. It's not what we want to see, but it's a win.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dave. That is a good point. There's a lot of racing going on. All right, folks, we're going to get ready to jump into this thing. Stick with us here on the EKN Radio Network and episode number 17 of the Debrief as David and I get set to do the paddock pass. Let's talk a little bit about what happened in the paddock at Cal Speed. Are you ready to rock? We turned the page and started a new chapter for the Challenge of the Americas in January, but the same program that people know and love remains the foundation. The Challenge has embarked on a new season with a brand new formula, welcoming the Rock Cup program to the West Coast. We'll also be offering the popular Briggs 206 classes again this year after resounding success and support when we debuted the categories in 2017. The final round of the Challenge of the Americas is scheduled for April 13th, 14th, and 15th in Sonoma. And we welcome you to join us for what will be our biggest race of the year. If you're ready for the off-season to be over, come have some fun. If you're up north in the frozen tundra, do you really need a better reason to come to the Challenge? Get out of the cold and into the sun and warmth. Let's rock! And for more information, visit challengekarting.com.
For over a century, Briggs & Stratton has had a commitment and passion for racing. It's a DNA found in every engine we build today. So whether you kart race, Baja, race quarter midgets, or believe that dirt and snow are just God's way of adding to the challenge, the dedicated spirit of every Briggs & Stratton employee stands at the fence waiting for the green flag to drop. Briggs & Stratton Racing. What powers you?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode number 17 of the EKN Debrief podcast. David Cole and I breaking down the Challenge of the Americas event in Fontana, California, rounds 3 and 4. Let's move to the Paddock Pass, brought to you this week by the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. David, let's chat about some of the stuff that happened paddock-wise when we got there. Obviously, some surprises. We didn't see Rock Master point leader Adam Kasich, not able to make the trek. I think he said he had a family function on the East Coast. In fact, I think you and I went on social media. I think he was golfing with his dad, which not a bad thing either.
No, not a bad thing at all.
But it really kind of blew the door open for guys like Paul Bonilla to come in and challenge for the championship because Kasich had swept the weekend in Phoenix, had the point lead, doesn't go to Cal Speed.
Well, I think we kind of knew going in that Bonilla was going to be the guy to beat in Cal Speed, no matter who was going to show up, because he's almost become the king of Cal Speed with as many laps as this guy has put on at that facility. He as we saw throughout the weekend, no matter where you put him, he's going to find a way to get to the front. Whether it's 3 laps or whether it's 25 laps in a main, he's gonna get there and be fast. But it definitely it's kind of made that category pretty interesting the way things unfolded as we go into Sonoma for that championship chase.
Yeah, once we get into the race report segment of the debrief, we'll talk more about that. But again, just to say what we talked about off the top of the podcast, really good amount of local entries. Guys that we haven't seen. You're only going to see at Cal Speed, Tony Rossetti. It was good to see the full tent with the full throttle karting guys. Ed Quinn, Tom Vano. They obviously joined. Mike Giles was there as well. Joining David Pergondi and Paul Bonilla. Big 10 of Masters guys coming and having a great time. So always like to see that at the challenge. Late entry, David, from Jake Drew for Phil Giebler Racing. I had heard that he was looking to try to get something together to come and run. He certainly made an impact, that's for sure.
Oh, without a doubt, he made an impact. We saw him race 206 at Streets of Lancaster. We know he's another one of those guys that's really fast at the LAKC events and anytime there's an event at Cal Speed. So to have him in the mix, it definitely put him at the forefront and he showed exactly what he could do there at Cal Speed.
We're talking Paddock Pass here again, brought to you this week by the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. I was real pleased to see the guys from K&K West come down once again. Jimmy Gregory and his crew coming down from Edmonton, Alberta, bringing a bunch of guys to run 206. I think they ran in the Rock Senior category. They ran Rock Shifter. It was awesome to just have those guys there.
Oh, very, very good to see. it's just like a bunch of guys hanging out and having a good time. That's really what that group kind of represents, and what the sport really is truly about. Just going out and having a good time. There's Jimmy's wearing around an In-N-Out hat, which, we've all done before. So, and we see them at the hotel, sitting around having a good time. And it's, that's what racing is about. That's kind of the one thing that we keep saying that we're missing at the national level. And we know anytime we go to the challenge, it's a good time. The entire crew that puts on the show for the challenge, Andy and all his staff, but also the racers that take part in the challenge. A lot of them are there, obviously to win, but a lot of them know that it's a good time to have.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. That's one of the things about the challenge. People have had a great time. The guys from K&K West came down to Phoenix. They loved it. They came back down for Cal Speed. Hopefully we'll see them at Sonoma as well. And maybe that whole getting the participation from Canada is always a big thing for the Winter Series. We'd love to have more guys come down and enjoy the event as well. One last thing here for the Paddock Pass, Dave. Saw a lot of different chassis on the weekend. And that's something I really dig seeing. We're constantly seeing different chassis, whether it's Ricciardo, the OTK products on top. There was obviously Alex Keys on the Burrell, Top Kart, Bennick. It was just, the VLR as well. Just awesome to see the different chassis out there in this program.
Well, yeah, if you count them up, I think we have 6 different chassis that won on the weekend. Now, obviously, we had some double winners throughout the weekend, so it could have been more. But it's good to see the diversity of the chassis brands winning at this program. And I think we're seeing that a little bit more throughout the country. A lot of these other brands are stepping up their game and putting a challenge to some of the top bigger ones that we always see winning. So it's great to see the diversity of the chassis continue to evolve.
Yeah, I agree. And you'll see it whether we're at a SCUSA race and you're seeing the, obviously Nitro Kart rocking to roll into the cadet categories. The arrival of Kart Republic has been very impressive. There are more chassis we're going to see coming into battle here now, and I think it's exciting to see what's happening. All right, so that's it for the Paddock Pass. Again, brought to you by the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. After this break, David and I are going to start talking race report. We're going to start talking about some of the categories, some of the racing we saw at Cal Speed as part of the second event on the Challenge of the Americas. Stay with us. We'll have that after this break.
The Rock Cup USA Kart Racing Series is a division of the internationally recognized Rock Cup Racing program powered by the Vortex engine package. The program promotes parity within the classes, and the parent series, Rock Cup, is an FIA-authorized international series with a 15-year history in over 32 different countries. Powered by the Vortex engine platform, Rock Cup USA offers a competitive racing package throughout its promoted series, including the Florida Winter Tour, Rock Festivals, Rock the Rio, Challenge of the Americas, and a flourishing regional club program throughout the United States and multiple Canadian series. All the best rockers from around the world have the opportunity to take part in the prestigious Rock Cup International Final, an international event that crowns global rock champions. In 2017, the Rock Cup International Final had a record number of countries represented, 49 from 5 continents, and saw 415 rockers take to the grid. Rock Cup International Final tickets will be awarded at the Florida Winter Tour, Challenge of the Americas, and the Rock Festival. For more information on Rock Cup USA, please visit www.rockcupusa.com.
Quality, innovation, and a commitment to success. That's TB Kart USA. Within a sea of mainstream chassis, TB Kart USA is taking the American karting market by storm, winning races all over the country. We have a full lineup of chassis for all categories, beginning with our Kid and Cadet karts. For Yamaha and Tag, we offer our S55 line of chassis. And for the shifter drivers, our TB Kart S197 is the perfect fit. If you're a Briggs 206 racer, you need our purpose-built 4-cycle chassis that's based on our proven TB Kart S55 geometry. If you're looking for a team to race with, give us a call. We offer all levels of support, local and national events. We are here to help get you your personal racing program to the next level. Team TB Kart USA is here to work with you in achieving your goals. For more information, check us out online at www.tbkartusa.com.
Welcome back to episode number 17 of the EKN Debrief. My name is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole. All of this, of course, part of the EKN Radio Network. David and I will be working on the new mobile app for the EKN Radio Network soon, so you'll be able to just tap that button on your mobile device and get right to the broadcast. Of course, the radio network, to remind everyone, or those of you who don't know, a 24/7, 365 karting radio station on ekartingnews.com. It'll nothing but karting content, and we're developing new shows as the season goes along. We have the Debrief, we've got Industry Insider, we have the Operation Grassroots. David and I have a couple more ideas that we're going to bring out here in 2018. Just a lot of fun we're going to have with this as it develops. David, let's jump into the race report section, brought to you this a week by Bell Racing USA. Let's start with Rock Senior. Only 10 drivers in the category, but to be honest, even Jim McKinney coming in after the sweep in Phoenix, he just needs a decent weekend to keep a hold of that lead. But really, Dave, the whole weekend was about Jake Drew. Like, he just came in and flat laid it down.
Yeah, he was very impressive throughout the weekend, and as we talked about earlier, not exactly a dominant performance. He got a little bit challenged here in some qualifying sessions, and McKinney and Jensen Altzman and Colby Dubato, they were able to challenge him a little bit early on in some of the races, but in the end, I think Drew just proved to be too consistent to be able to pull away and get away from those guys and stay out in front. So, the consistency is what, not the outright speed, but more the consistency is what kept Drew out front all weekend long.
Yeah, I agree. It's, we watch these races, so many races, David, throughout the year where if a guy starts a little further back, or maybe something happens at the start of the race where he falls back to fourth, whatever it may be. And I know Jake fell back in one of the races, but he just took his time. Yeah, there's longer races. It's a 17-lap pre-main and a 25-lap final. You do not need to win it in the first 5 laps. And we see guys try to do that and end up out of the race or well back. I was really impressed by Jake's kind of maturity and his poise and his patience, just picking his way back forward, taking his spots, and then being able to, again, work to the top of the box on both days. Very impressive, I think, for me at least, with Jake. He scores the big victories there. Colby Dubato, as you said, was very impressive. And again, Jim McKinney knocked out a couple really good results. He's going to go to Sonoma with a really good opportunity to win this championship and head to the Rock Cup International Final.
Yeah, he did what he needed to do, where he beat the people he beat in Phoenix, because that's who he has to stay ahead of in order to try and claim this championship. And so you don't like to say it was a good points day, but for him not being at that facility for, I think he said maybe 5 years, when he was racing Rotax Junior. So for him to come over without any prior testing to finish on the podium both days do really well against 2 local drivers, I think it was a win-win for him.
And that was the key point that David mentioned, the fact that Jake Drew and Colby Dubato, the first time they ran, they didn't do Phoenix, so they have 0 points for both of those events. I'm hearing that Jake may want to go to Sonoma, which is really cool. If he goes and wins both, I think that if you look at the calculations, it'll be like a 6th place finish or something. That's all that Jim McKinney would need, and he'll only need 1. Dave, let's move to Rockmaster now. Again, the biggest class of the weekend, 17 drivers in the Rockmaster category. As you said, Paul Bonilla, so strong at Cal Speed. Goes for the victory. It's such just a winning day. Got the job done. Quick, wins the main event. Then we find out that there's an issue with the carburetor. Some minor issue with the carburetor. That ends up putting Jonathan Silva on the top of the box. He had a great weekend, had a fantastic battle with Eric Jackson. They gave each other room. It was just great racing. He ends up with the win. Tough one for Bonilla, though, having won that and have a small minor issue with the carburetor.
Yeah, that's what you get sometimes with the spec packages that we do run. I hate to say this, but I've seen this with a full throttle karting driver before. John Crow lost the Grand Nationals one year because he didn't have the spark plug washer in. It's just little things like that. Sometimes, I'm not saying there was, there's nothing that, Andy or anybody under the FTTK tent was doing. It's just one of those things that, when you put something back together, it might not have been put back the right way it should have been. But it's just those little things that you always need to stay ahead of the game. And I think for Paul, it's a tough situation because he was his wrench man. Like it was him and only him really that was working on the cart throughout the weekend. So he's doing all the driving, doing all the wrenching. So sometimes, little things like that can be missed. So it was a tough one for him, but he bounced back pretty well the next day.
Yeah, I think Paul can probably get the pass on this one. I believe it was they had somebody prepping the carburetor for them who just made a minor mistake. So Paul just bolted the thing on as it was given and went racing. So they were fine moving into the next day. And you said he came in and smoked them. And you talk about how good Paul is and how he can make – it doesn't matter where he starts. Remember, the pre-main on Sunday, he ends up having an issue with the drive gear. So he finishes last, comes off early. He comes to the very back of the pack, and we talked to Vache Tutikian, who made his challenge debut this past weekend with Phil Giebler Racing in the Masters class. He got out to a nice lead. He's out there, hammered out, like looking back. I got lots of room. I'm going to put it on slight cruise control. I'm not going to push it over push it. And Vache actually told us he couldn't believe that Paul got to him that quickly. And I think that had he known, he probably would have pushed a little bit harder. But Paul just came rocketing through the field. He was into the top 10 by lap 2, I think, and then just methodically knocked it out and was eventually on Vache's rear bumper, and it was only a matter of time before he was going through.
Well, yeah, it was an interesting turn of events because Bonilla got through, a few of the guys real quick at the start, but there was a big, massive pack with Burgande, Jackson, Rossetti, Quinn and Giles and just I want to say like 7 guys, and they're all kind of just going, they're all together kind of back and forth racing each other as Vache drove away, and then Bonilla caught him, and then I think it was in a matter of 2 laps he was in second place. So it was amazing to see. It was. I turned around. I was like, okay, he'll take him maybe 4 laps to get through these guys, because they've been racing hard, and I look back and I'm like, holy cow, he's in second already.
And it was one of those ones, David, where he just took advantage of every opportunity. There's a good half dozen places to pass at Cal Speed. Down into Long Beach Turn 1. You can pass going into the Contino Carousel. You can pass going into Silk, the left-hander. You pass in the hairpin. You can pass up in 12. He didn't take any time to send anybody up. It was, I'm here, I'm going by. And it was an impressive run for sure, and a big Sunday win for Paul Bonilla. As things shake down, the consistency, however, of Eric Jackson, I believe, puts him as the point leader right now. Eric's got 4 straight podium finishes here in the challenge. So he's going to go up to Sonoma with the lead and an opportunity. If he can knock a race win out, he could win this championship. As I said before, Jonathan Silva getting his first challenge win after the Bonilla DQ. He came back to finish 5th on Sunday. Vache Tutikian, as we said, he and Tony Rossetti, David, very fast additions to the field from the local region, from SoCal. And it was cool to have them out. And Rossetti, he just kept fast lap. Very impressive. A couple of podiums, I believe, for Tony.
I believe one podium for him. That came on Saturday, but I think he had fast lap in both main events. So he was quick on Friday. We saw him quick on Friday. Just kind of up and down here and there. But when it came to main event time, he was definitely the quickest guy out there.
Let's move on to the Rock Junior category. We saw the speed of Ugu Chukwu at Phoenix qualify on pole and just run away with it. Obviously, the ability to get that done. You and I have talked many times about the fact that starting on pole, winning on pre-main and winning races, it's great for the resume, but not fantastic for racecraft because you simply don't get a chance to pass anybody. And you and I, David, we've talked about the P-pick. We love that you start pole one race, you start the next heat race at the back because I think you do need to pass. Ugo was able to continue his winning streak. He swept everything at Phoenix. He did the same thing on Saturday at Cal Speed, pole, pre-main, main event win. Big day for him, extends his point lead. Sunday, a little bit different story because Ethan Ho showed some fantastic pace, and Ugo got kind of pushed back a little bit. Austin Torgerson was right in there. Cooper Beckland's right in there. Well, contact between Ugo Chukwu and Ethan Ho in the pre-main. Ethan obviously out of the race. Ugo able to continue, but he gets a penalty that knocks him back to deep in the field as well. So all of a sudden, there's Ugo having to work his way forward. And he did get himself into – he showed great speed, but he got himself into a couple situations where, there was some contact, penalties were getting laid down. It was some pretty wild racing on Sunday.
It was. The pre-main was early on. We were expecting Ugo to kind of walk away, but even in qualifying, again, he was challenged, and it took him to the last lap in order to secure the pole position. So we thought, okay, hey, maybe the field did their homework. They're going to be able to challenge him, and they challenged him. And Ugo didn't quite respond the best way he could in the pre-final. It was, me and you have kind of different views on the incident between Ugo and Ethan Ho. They were kind of just going crisscrossing back and forth, and contact was made. Ethan got the worst of it. Ugo continued on, but Ugo was penalized. So obviously the officials saw it a little bit better than maybe me and you did on that situation. But you move on to the final. Both Ugo and Ethan both started in the back, and they both tried to knife their way forward, but it seemed like Ugo kind of struggled being confident in his maneuvers. When I say that, it was kind of like he would pass a guy and then go into defense mode right away. And I almost want to think that it was the Europe racing that he did all of last year that kind of drove that into him, where the competition is so tight that in the pushback bumpers and all that other stuff, the defensive line is probably the best way to go. But here with no pushback bumpers and the difference between some of the drivers in the field, I don't think the defensive line was the best route to take in some of the instances that he was in. I think if he just would have ran the racing line and kind of done what we saw in Phoenix, where you get on that rhythm and you start knocking down those fast laps that we know he can do, he would have been able to pull away and maybe move up further through the field.
I think that's a great point, David, and you're exactly right. He would make a move and then come to the top of the hill, turn 11 and 12. We were running the Grande counterclockwise course. He'd come back to the top of the hill, that the double left-hander, and would drive right down to the inside. That's going to rob his speed going down the hill. And then the minute they got into the straightaway coming out of 15, you were right. He was right to the inside of the racetrack after he made a pass. And like you said, his outright speed, all he really would have had to do was run and probably would have been able to pull away from the guys that he went by. But you're right. He started going in defense mode, stacked everybody up, and it just made for a lot more, let's say, close racing, a lot more contact. In the end, you got to give props to Austin Torgerson and Cooper Beckland. They were able to get away while everybody was racing behind them. Torgerson ends up with the win. Cooper Beckland in second, I believe. So just all in all, some good racing, but some interesting stuff in terms of a driver who probably got some really good experience this weekend in Ugo Chukwu, having to race hard side by side. Just a really good learning experience. All right. Couple races down. We got more to come here, folks, on the EKN Debrief. Episode number 17, as David and I breaking down the Challenge of the Americas event in Fontana, California. Stay with us. When we get back, we're going to talk rock shifter. If your dream is IndyCar, set your sights on the Mazda Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. The first step of the ladder system is the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship powered by Mazda, which prepares young drivers for the calculated jump to the Pro Mazda Championship presented by Cooper Tires, where increased power, grip, and aero downforce fast-track your training. The final rung is the Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires program. The last 4 Indy Lights champions will be racing in the Verizon IndyCar Series this year, so it's a proven formula. At all 3 levels, you will race at premier venues on the same weekends as IndyCar. Showcase your skills under the watchful eyes of IndyCar scouts and owners. Former karters fill the roster of Mazda Road to Indy graduates like Spencer Piggott, Gabby Chavez, Zach Veach, Ed Jones, and 2017 Indy Lights champion Kyle Kaiser. Recent karting graduates like Oliver Askew are in the middle of their journeys as well. Follow in their footsteps. Fulfill your dream. If you want to race IndyCar, there is only one choice. The Mazda Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires.
If you want to drive the best, drive a CRG. Our countless race wins and championships prove this fact, including taking the KZ Finals at the SCUSA Super Nationals and the CIK World Championships in both 2016 and 2017. Our material is second to none. After years of independent American importers, CRG is now managed directly by the factory and run out of our state-of-the-art headquarters in Texas. CRG Nord-Am is the American arm of the CRG factory in Italy, and we're serious about success. We stock a wide variety of parts in all of our chassis, from the CRG Hero for the mini categories, to the Heron for tag racing, the Road Rebel for gearbox competition, and the new FS4, which has been designed specifically for American 4-cycle Briggs racing. If you're ready to step up to the national level, do it with a factory race team that competes across the USA. CRG Nord-Am is a full factory effort with the best personnel and the finest equipment. We're serious about winning, and you should be too.
Welcome back to the EKN Debrief here on the EKN Radio Network, episode number 17, February 28th, 2018. Wow, David, it just kind of hit me there. We're almost into March already. You realize that?
We basically are into March.
This is crazy.
It's when I started writing the preview for this past weekend, I couldn't believe that we were already 2 months into the season, and it's just kind of just zoomed by super fast. And I think there's just more and more racing that's going on, and the season starts in December. It doesn't start in March or April. It starts in December when we go down to Daytona, and then from there it just continues to unwind, and it's a fun time but a busy time.
Exactly. All right, let's get back at it. This is again the Race Report, brought to you this week by Bell Racing USA. Always a pleasure to work with the guys, Chris Wheeler and the crew at Bell Racing. Big partners with us, partnering up with the EKN driver rankings. We're thrilled to have them on board. Rock Shifter, Dave. A handful of really good guys. We came in with two different winners, Cole Bailey and Nikki Hayes, able to win at Phoenix. We were saying to ourselves, hey, are we going to get a third and fourth different winner? Well, we did on Saturday. Alex Keys, the Red Bull Global Rallycross GRC Lights race winner, man, he looked really good out of the box. Good on Friday, and then essentially able to just take control and win on Saturday.
Yeah, his speed was, again, consistent. He was able to get the whole shots, both races, get away cleanly, and be able to hold off any kind of challenges that he had. Saturday, Hayes and Bailey kind of challenged him early on, but Keys just never put a wheel wrong and was able to get away and earn his first victory with the series on Saturday. And then you move into Sunday, it was kind of the same thing.
How about Sunday?
It was really the same thing. It's just this time we saw Clinton Scooby step up his game overnight and kind of be the lead challenger in the final. So, Keys had Scooby on his bumper the entire time, all 25 laps. And it
was unbelievable.
You couldn't really tell where Keys was weak around the race course because, Scooby was he's kind of got a different, Keys was kind of more laid back, relaxed, and Scooby's kind of just all over the wheel, if you know what I mean. And so there wasn't really any spot that either of them were gaining or losing to each other. They were just kind of equal. And he just wasn't able to make a move and challenge.
Yeah, and in talking to Clinton, and you're right, Clinton, he's up on the wheel. He'll manhandle. He's a big guy. He's strong. He's going to manhandle that cart. Especially, there's a couple places on that racetrack which are a bit bumpy in the shifter. But when I talked to Clinton after the race, he said that they kind of split the track in half. There were places where Clinton was faster, and there were places where Alex was faster, and he just couldn't do anything. He said, I was thinking about making a move in a couple spots, but He goes, I didn't want to take us both out. I wanted to make sure if the move was done, I was going to be able to do it with some certainty. And I just don't think Clinton ever had that. We were just continuing to wait for him to throw it in there somewhere. But to his credit, he's a class act. He's a great driver, always gives you room. I was thrilled to see him there this weekend. That was just fun to watch. That was 25 laps of two dudes dropping the hammer. Now, some passing would have been wild, but I'm telling you, Clinton just did not let up. Alex ends up winning both races. He's going to go to the finale weekend at Sonoma with the point lead, but Cole Bailey's still in there. Nikki Hayes is still in there. This championship's going to probably come down to Sunday.
It will be. I think this is the class that will be fun to watch because with the way everything's unfolded in the first four rounds, Keys has a little bit of advantage being in Sonoma, but I mean, you can't take anything away from Cole Bailey or Nikki Hayes because these two guys, I mean, they're fast and it's going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be thrilling for sure. Deeper in that field, they ran the Rock Shifter Masters category as well. Calvin Chen ends up with a couple of victories. Obviously, he knows that track. I think Steve Buckner told us, I think they swept the year at the LAKC last year. So he knows that racetrack. He hammers down, and he got the job done. He was able to win both races. Nick Firestone and Zoli Sewell were right in the hunt as well. But Chen with the double win in the Masters category. In Mini Rock, Dave, man, third different winner. Logan Toke able to come in and score a race win. We saw some speed out of AJ Zarcone as well. It was just fun. It was just good racing in the Mini Rock category.
Again, we kind of didn't have that clear-cut driver who was like we saw in Senior or in Masters that could go out and dominate. I think it was Kai Sorensen was in there. He was quick. Parker DeLong was quick. Obviously, Chase Gardner was quick.
Chase Gardner for sure.
AJ Zarcone took a pole position, I believe, on Saturday. So, this one, just like the shifter category, is going to be great coming down to the end with the championship because I think we got 5 drivers that are in the hunt. And, depending on how things unfold in Sonoma, anything can happen.
Really interesting to me to see the VME drivers. Obviously, Eric Jackson in the Masters class with 4 straight podiums, and Gardner looking really good as well with a run of podiums here on the VME too. So it's, again, like you said, this is going to be a battle. 5 drivers in the title chase heading to Sonoma. This is. I just get ready for this one because that track at Sonoma, so many different places to pass. I think it's going to be an absolute whirlwind for the drivers in the Mini Rock class.
Well, that's. I was going to say the Cal Speed. I mean, we saw Toke kind of pull the Tavella where he just sat in second, pushed a guy out, and then decided to make his move in the end. I don't think you're going to be able to see that in Sonoma because Sonoma, there's just so many different places to pass and so many different areas where, like you were talking about in Shifter, you can be good in one area and bad in another. There's so many of those different spots that are at Sonoma. So I think that's going to tend to provide some great racing.
And you're right, David. We did see some improved, I don't use the word racecraft, but it is probably the best word, but just some really good strategy out of a couple of drivers. Instead of guys battling like crazy, we did see that happen. Guys battling, the rest of the field closes up, but on a couple of occasions, we saw drivers, 2 guys pull away. Even in the young Mini Rock category, like you said, Logan Toke put himself in second position, being smart, and pull away. I love seeing that because that's the understanding of that race strategy you need. You don't need to race in the first 10 laps. It's the last 2 or 3 when you got to go at it. Or
the first corner.
Yeah, or you decide to go 4 wide into the first corner.
Exactly.
All right, let's have a look at the 206 senior category. You and I are big fans. We like to we run 206 ourselves whenever we can. A new player in the game show up for Cal Speed. Micah Hendricks was the big dog at Phoenix local racetrack. In comes David Vasquez on the VLR, and he kind of made his statement early. We did the happy hour with Howden during the final practice session, the pre-qualifying time practice, that extended 20-minute session that Andy Seisman offers up with the hot pit. Let's put it this way. The 206 guys are out there. We already had Vasquez in the hot seat talking to me in the booth in the happy hour before the session was even over. I think he did 4 or 5 laps, went P1, and parked it. the VLR was good out of the box, I think.
Yes, it was very good, and it's something we've seen at, I think, both coasts now. We've saw, Colin Warren sweep the SCUSA Winter Series on the VLR, and now, with Micah Hendricks and David Vasquez, they've swept the 206 senior program at the Challenge of the Americas. So the VLR is definitely one of the top Briggs chassis that we're seeing right now.
And talk about guys understanding the strategy. Once the early racing kind of shook down, David, in the main event on Sunday, it was impressive to see Vasquez and Hendrick just hook up and pull away. They ran an 18-lap main event, and for the first probably 16, 15 laps, they were just nose to tail or taking off. You guys can fight it out amongst yourselves for third, but we're just taking off. Then, of course, got down to that battle at the end when Hendricks went by. But they really showed exactly what you have to do in a 206 to get away.
Well, I think that was kind of instigated by Hendricks because he was involved in the 5-cart battle we saw in Phoenix, where he was, I think, back to 5th at one time. Well, when you're racing for the win, you don't exactly want to be pushed back to 5th. So I think he knew the other drivers were going to step up the game, and they kept it close early. But he was able to push Vasquez away. So it was just the two VLR drivers going head to head for the win.
Tough one for the win, too. Hendricks leads with, a lap and a half to go. They come up the hill. One of the slower cars was doing his best to get out of the way. And as they came up the hill, Hendricks wasn't sure what to do. He wasn't sure if the lapper was going to stay to the inside or go to the outside. So Hendricks goes to the outside. The lapper starts to move to the right to the outside as well. Vasquez throws it down the inside in 11 and ends up with a position in turn number 12. That was just one of those deals where I think Hendricks just wasn't sure what to do, right? If you jink to the inside, Vasquez would have went around the outside. So in the end, tough one for Hendricks. He was still smiles at the podium, but Vasquez ends up with the win.
Yeah, it only cost him $500.
Wow, you're right.
But he,
500. Yeah,
but he did get free entry to the next race. So
exactly, got a free entry to go up to Sonoma. That's true. Wow, that was harsh, Dave. That was harsh.
It was the only class racing for money. Again, so essentially, it was that's what he lost. He lost the $500.
That's true. True enough. All right, let's go to LO206 Junior. Toby Longnecker making it a sweep for VLR in the category. Really good racing. Ashton Torgerson, Cooper Becklin all in the fight as well. But in the end, David, Toby Longnecker getting that victory.
Yeah, so that's 3 of the 4 wins in the Briggs categories for VLR. So again, that they definitely know how to make the low horsepower work on that chassis.
Yeah, they're having a decent start to the year so far, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind winning 3 out of 4. That'd be win. That'd be great.
Yeah, 3 out of 4 at the Challenge, and 4 out of 4 at the SCUSA Winter Series. That's pretty solid. Pretty solid start. All right. Well, let's have a look now, Dave. We're done with the race report. That's all the categories. It was awesome racing, as you said. And again, folks, Rob Howard alongside David Cole here, episode 17 of the Debrief on the EKN Radio Network. And again, big thank you to those of you listening in. We're thrilled. If you are listening in on the podcast through iTunes, do us a favor and give us a good rating. Get that thing fired up for us. We'd love that. Let's move in now, David, because we got more racing to come. You and I are not getting much of a break. I'm not getting really any break, maybe a weekend here or 2. I think I have 3 or 4 free weekends in the summer. I've kind of overbooked, but I'm excited to go to a lot of races. Let's move to the EKN Trackside Live race calendar presented by Acceleration Kart Racing. David, right out of the box, we're heading this weekend to the opening round of the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour, the 2nd annual Winter Nationals, NOLA Motorsports Park in New Orleans. Great racetrack. Going to be over 100, over 200, maybe 215, 220 in terms of entries. This is going to be a great weekend. This kind of signals the main season is rolling now. Would you agree?
I would agree with that. It's great to go back to NOLA. This will be our 4th time going down there for karting, I believe. I think we did the Pan Am, we did the Rotax World Grand Finals, and we went last year for the inaugural Winter Nationals. And looking forward to heading back down to Bourbon Street and getting some good eats down there and seeing some weirdness and seeing some good racing at NOLA.
Yeah, it's that track just races so well. In the SCUSA events, hardcore national racing, everyone with just so much intensity and passion. We've seen lots of contact in the past, and hopefully that's going to calm down. We'll see some more racecraft. I'll put that out there right now that I'd love to see some better racecraft, guys. Just race safe, race smart.
I think last year NOLA was probably one of the better tracks that we saw racecraft wise. It wasn't a lot of too many crazy moves or too many dumb moves that we saw in Sonoma. Newcastle, again, I think the longer courses tend to allow you a little bit of breathing room, meaning the driver gets to relax.
That's right.
And kind of think about, okay, what am I going to do, rather than kind of boom, boom, boom. Oh, I got to do this type meal.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going with that, was the fact that track really raced well. We did have some contact, but it races so well. There's a lot of great places to pass, and we saw some amazing racing last year, some tremendous passes. Of course, in 17, that final corner. I like that about NOLA. It just seems like it races clean and it races really well. After NOLA, I go straight to the opening round of the Verizon IndyCar Series in St. Petersburg. I'm super excited to get back there, getting a chance to, of course, with the Mazda Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires, get to watch some of those kids that we've been watching for the last number of years. Oliver Askew, Kyle Kirkwood, Darren Keene, so many great drivers coming up through the ranks. We get a weekend off, and then we gotta figure out how we're doing this for EKN Trackside Live. But you and I are doing double duty on the March 23rd, 24th weekend. You're at WK Manufacturers Cup in GoPro Motorplex in Mooresville. I'm at Speed Sports Racing Park for the opening round of the Texas Pro Kart Challenge. It'll be 2 live broadcasts coming. We're not exactly sure where you're going to be able to tune in for them, but that's the plan for the weekend. It's going to be awesome. You're going to go back Man Cup racing, and I'm heading back to Texas.
Yeah, I'm excited to head back to Mooresville. I love going there, watching races. Everything's right there in front of you. You can see everything. It's a great racetrack to drive. It's a great racetrack to watch. Good eats there too as well. Always got to think about the food when we're going places.
Yes. Well, hold on. Now,
I'm sure you're going to get good food down in Texas.
Well, I'm going to Texas. Go good to see my good friend Alan Rudolph at his facility, which I absolutely love. Down there with the Frenches in the Texas Pro Kart Challenge. I think this series is going to see some growth this year, and I'm excited about it. But listen, last weekend we did the In-N-Out burger, and it was flippin' delicious. I love In-N-Out. Now I'm going to go down. I'm going to knock out a Whataburger when I'm down there, and there's a place called Freddy's. I'm supposed to go to Freddy's as well, so I might try this place, Freddy's. But Mike Jones, Eddie Alavia, Ryan Kinnear, all you Texas and Oklahoma people can chill out. I'm gonna hit up Whataburger while I'm down there.
I feel sorry for you,
dude. You are an In-N-Out man, and I respect you for that. That's the EKN Trackside Live race calendar, brought to you by Acceleration Kart Racing. SCUSA Pro Tour Winter Nationals this weekend. End of the month, David and I doing double duty. I'll be in Texas. He'll be at the Man Cup race in Mooresville. Make sure you tune into the EKN Trackside Live. It'll be live coverage, both of those events. David, let's wrap this broadcast up. Episode number 17 of the Debrief here on the EKN Radio Network. Wrapping up our thoughts on the Challenge of the Americas, round number 3 and 4 in Fontana. Minor growth from race 1 to race 2, couple classes up, couple classes down, but overall a 7% growth. That's key, and you got to expect with The Rock already kind of up in a position up at Sonoma that you're going to see some increase there as well.
Without a doubt, we know of at least probably 2 teams that haven't been to a challenge race this year that'll probably have a good 4 to 5 drivers under their tent. Those that have already been supporting the program, like Cameron Karting or Leading Edge, some of those those NorCal teams are going to have more drivers under their tent there when we go to Sonoma. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do hit that triple digit number. We might be able to hit 100, and that's a great thing for Andy and his program. It definitely shows that the minor growth can lead to good things, and a year from now we'll be talking about even more growth.
All in all, in my opinion, what the series is going to need is that local growth of the Rock Cup program on both the regional and the club level. They're going to be in Sonoma. They've signed an exclusive deal up at Sonoma. I know they're working hard to get the Rock program some roots in Southern California as well. If they're able to get that happening, then they're going to have more pool to draw from. The Rock's also in Colorado. That's always been a pool that they've drawn from for the Challenge of the Americas. It's the idea of being able to draw from club and regional racing to offer that winter series for those drivers. Overall, David, I think an awesome weekend. You never say it during the weekend, but you can say it at the end. No red flags whatsoever. We raced all the way through. No ambulance runs. That's always a bonus.
Always good to see the ambulance sit tight and not move, especially at cow speed, because we know how much of a headache that can be with the ambulance.
It shuts everything down. You got to sit there and wait. I know, it's crazy. Well, folks, all in all, a good weekend at the Challenge of the Americas. David and I are really excited to be now, of course, heading to the SCUSA Pro Tour. It's going to be massive. Look forward to some great racing. We'll be live all weekend long. Make sure you join us. All in all, though, championship battles all up for grabs still in the Challenge of the Americas. Remember, the Rock winners are going to the Rock Cup International Final in South Garda, Italy. What a fantastic event that is. And I know that the winners of those prizes, those champions, are really going to enjoy themselves when they head over to Garda. So we're done. We're done for this issue of the debrief, the episode number 17. Dave, we're knocking them out, man. 17 episodes. Pretty solid.
All right. Who's your favorite number 17?
My favorite number 17? I don't know.
I can only think of Darrell Waltrip right now.
Darrell Waltrip. Yeah. Probably the only guy I know. Yeah. Number 17.
Oh, Nick Neri. There you go. Nick Neri's a 17, I think.
Nick Neri. What about Sabre Cook? Sabre Cook's 317, right?
Yeah, she ran 317 for a while. You're correct. That is correct.
There you go. I'll be seeing her at the Mazda Road Indy race, the opening round at St. Petersburg, the weekend after SCUSA. We are done. Thank you so much, folks, for joining in with us here. And again, a big thanks to our presenting sponsor for the weekend, Precision Karting Technologies. On behalf of David Cole, this has been Rob Howden. Join us again for another episode of The Debrief here on the EKN Radio Network.